I'm absolutely exhausted. 2 long weeks on the road for the launch of a new international office in London combined with excessive traveling had exhausted me. But the worst part was being away from my girls. And the 16-hour drive home was pure hell, even in first class. I hated being away from my girls and my sexy wife, I always do. But the lifestyle I had created for my family meant that work could be challenging. Because of high demand, my energy company grew, and expanded to 12 countries. 5 years ago, I bought out Roger, my partner's stake. These 5 years have been challenging but rewarding at the same time, but I'm finally ready to sit back and enjoy the success as I have hired a new president to run the operation while I myself remain CEO and owner. I plan to give the girls the good news as soon as I get home. I'm excited because I'll have more time with my family and friends and be able to get back to my normal life. Don't get me wrong, I love how my company has grown, but deep down my goal has always been to spend most of my time watching my girls grow up and to spend more time with my wife. I feel blessed to finally have the opportunity to step back and enjoy the fruits of my labor at the age of 45 over the years, the country club membership, the new Lamborghini SUV that Zoe wanted, the private school for girls, the new 900 SKU Met house that Zoe talked me into. Along with all the extras were expensive but worth every penny when I saw their smiling faces and felt their warm embrace. My life may have been stressful, but it was always full of love and warmth. I wouldn't change a thing, and was now looking forward to the next chapter of my life with my family 30 minutes from home. While my driver maneuvered through traffic, I sat in the back seat of the limo, relaxed, and enjoying the second glass of bourbon I had poured from the sidebar after we left the airport. The house seemed quiet as we drove through the circular driveway, but I knew from experience that in a few minutes the girls would jump on their daddy, and their mommy would greet me with a warm kiss and the promise of a wonderful night with her in my arms. To my horror, I walked into an empty house. The only sound was the driver putting my bags in the foyer. I called out to them. There was no response. It was strange. The girls were always home when I returned from my trip. I hoped everything was okay. Then I saw an envelope with my name written out in her lovely handwriting to Jonathan from his loving wife, Zoe. After the driver left, I took my bags to my room, took off my suit and put on comfortable sweatpants, then headed to the bar for a new glass of rare Eagle 10-year-old malt bourbon, anticipating a love letter from my wife. I settled into my favorite chair and took a large sip of the expensive elixir, enjoying the burn before opening the envelope. Jonathan, my love, what an amazing journey we have had as husband and wife. I have treasured every minute of the last 16 years and look forward to the next 50 that I will spend together as your loving wife, darling. You know I love you so much, and you mean the world to me. You are my whole life, and I can't live without you. The love you give me is all I want, and I long to be in your arms every day. I've missed you so much these past 2 weeks, and I can't wait to see you later tonight. Those words warmed my heart even more than the bourbon warmed my stomach. I was lucky to have her as my wife. Have I told you recently that your sweet, tender love-making makes me shiver whenever I think of you? Do you remember how I told you just before you left on this last trip that I was madly in love with you and wanted to be with you always? Whenever I look at our girls, I see how much they respect and love you because you are the best father any child could dream of having. They love you as much as I do, and we are all blessed to have you in our lives. Wow, I always cry when I think about my 2 girls. I love them more than all my possessions and can't wait to hug and kiss them again. I never told you this, but all my friends are jealous of our relationship and how affectionate we still are towards each other, even after all these 16 years of marriage. They all know how much we love each other and wish they could have the same in their own lives. There are several reasons for this letter, darling. First, I want to thank you for being you, for giving me the most wonderful 16 years of my life, for being a wonderful father to our children, for the wonderful lifestyle you have allowed us to experience, and most importantly, for all the love you constantly pour out on me. The other reason is something I feel I need to share. It is something that has been bothering me for the past 6 months. It's something I never expected, and unfortunately, it's become an important part of my life that doesn't sound like a very good thing to say. I'm not sure if I should read any further, and definitely not until I fill my glass to calm down. It must be the jet lag. Zoe and the girls are my life. I can't believe I've had bad thoughts. She probably joined a new club or started a new expensive hobby. Let's see what she has to share. Everything you've just read is true, and every word I speak from the bottom of my heart. So what I'm about to tell you is the hardest thing I've ever done, as much as I love you and will never stop loving you. I have a confession to make. I pray that you will understand and not be disappointed in me and leave me because of it. I have had a lover for the past 6 months. I really shouldn't call him a lover because he is more of a sexual partner. I don't have any feelings or love for this man, but we have a sexual relationship. What the hell is this? Zoe is cheating on me after all the love and affection, all the freedom, everything she's ever wanted. She betrays her vows. Our sex life was great. How could this happen? I feel my heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. No, Zoe would never have a lover, would she? I trusted her with all my heart and soul. How could she ruin everything we had achieved together, all those years ruined by a tawdry affair? She can't be that stupid. The reason I'm telling you this now is out of respect and a deep sense of guilt. I can't live with this guilt anymore, and I need you to know that I have been unfaithful, but only in a sexual sense. You'll never realize it, but I don't feel love for him, just a sexual attraction that I can't explain. He does things to me that I can't put into words, and no matter how hard I try, I can't stop. He has become my addiction, and I need him in my life. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, and I'm going to be completely honest. I respect you too much to lie or hurt you in any way, but I fear that this confession has probably caused you some pain, and so I can only hope that you can understand what I need you to understand. You did more than hurt you. Total honesty. You've already lied to me. How can I trust you again? What have you done, Zoe? Please believe that I did everything I could to keep this a secret from you and not let it affect our lives. And if you look back, I think you'll agree that you didn't see any difference in our relationship. And I know we were both happy. Nothing has changed between us since it started, but I realize it can't end soon enough, so it's only fair that you know all about it. No secrets, baby. I love and respect you too much to ever do that. Please understand that my need for him is purely physical, and I will not let my being with him interfere with our love or intimacy. I just needed to let you know that there is another part of me that I have given to another man, but that part of me has nothing to do with my love for you, and the importance of our family. Family is the most important part of my life and my #1 value. Nothing is going to change that. I know reading this will come as a shock, and it hurts to hear it. But I know what kind of person you are and how much you love me. Realizing this has given me the confidence and courage to confess my cheating. Because deep down, I know you will understand my needs and forgive me. Your patience and understanding are just 2 of the many things I love about you, sweetheart. If you knew the type of man I am, you would never do this to me or the girls. You grossly underestimated me and just ended our marriage. You can forget about any forgiveness. No. The only thing you'll get from me is revenge. Our girls stayed the night at your mom's house, so don't worry about them, and they can't wait to see their daddy in the morning. I'm with my friend tonight because I wanted to give you some time alone to read my letter and figure out how things are going to go. I'll be home around 10 p.m. and we can pick up where we left off as if nothing has changed. Because nothing has changed, darling. I love you just as much today as I did yesterday, and after we reunite tonight, I know I'll love you even more, if that's even possible. I'll be all yours as soon as I get home, and you can make sweet love to your loving wife again. Just remember, as you read this, that you are the love of my life, and I am yours until death do us part. I am yours, baby, and I will give you anything you want or need. Thank you for being you and the best husband a girl could ever dream of. Love you always and forever, your devoted wife, Zoe. As I finished the letter, I realized that the glass of bourbon I was drinking was now part of the adjacent wall. I didn't remember even throwing the glass, let alone throwing it with such force that several shards actually embedded themselves into the wall. Apparently, my subconscious took over and brought me to a higher level of awareness. The ability to make quick decisions is what had led me to success in business. And now I was acting out of habit. I took out a piece of paper and wrote a letter back, sealed the envelope with her name clearly written on the front, and placed it on the table next to the envelope that was addressed to me. I put her letter in my pocket, took some luggage, and went up to the girls' room to pack clothes for a few days as we had a short trip ahead of us in the car. I called my supervisor and told her to get the corporate jet ready for the trip to San Francisco, where I was going to be staying for the near future with my girls by 6:30 that evening. I was in my Range Rover on my way to my mom and dad's house to pick up the girls. I have a corporate apartment near my California office where I had already stored a full set of clothes and everything I needed for an extended stay. The apartment would be the perfect place, until I could talk to my lawyers and plan my immediate future when I pulled up to my parents' house. The girls ran out to greet me with wide smiles on their faces and 100 kisses. They were happy to see me, and I felt like I was smiling for the first time since I got home. Daddy's home. We've missed you, Daddy, and we didn't think we'd see you until tomorrow. Mommy said you wouldn't be back until tomorrow. She was supposed to meet her friend Jamie tonight, and we came here to see Grandma and Grandpa. I hugged and kissed them and felt tears run down my face from all the love and the realization that their lives were about to change because of their mother's betrayal. Their warm embrace truly soothed my soul, and it was at that moment that all my problems ceased to exist. Jamie's name didn't escape my attention, and for a while I filed it in my memory bank. After the girls calmed down, I told them that I had a surprise and that we were going on a trip for a few days, and they were going to fly on the company plane. I promised them a fun and exciting vacation. Convincing the girls was the easiest part. Explaining things to Mom and Dad was a different story. They obviously felt my pain and objected to me taking the girls until I let them read the letter. I explained that I needed some time to get to a safe place to think things through and plan without letting my emotions get in the way. I then explained that I had left the letter for Zoe and would call her from the airplane. Finally, I promised that I would be back within 2 weeks, and that it was only a short trip, and that I wouldn't worry about the girls as they would be well taken care of on the way to the private terminal. I called my new president and told him that I was going to be in the California office and that he should run things himself and only contact me in emergencies. William, the reins for the next few weeks are in your hands. Let's see how you do without my advice. I'm sure you'll be fine, and the staff will be happy to help you. I need a little time to deal with a personal issue, so only contact me if absolutely necessary. You will do a great job, and I know my company is in good hands. Make me proud of you, William. Don't worry, Mr. King, I'll take care of it, and everything will be fine. Call me for daily updates if you'd like. I know how hard it can be to put your child in the wrong hands. Let me know if you need anything while you're there. As we boarded the plane, the girls ran back and forth up and down the aisle of the 16-seat passenger plane and played with the flight attendant who adored the girls. Jessica was one of our regular helpers, and over the past 2 years we have become good friends. Being alone for hours on flights can create friendships with the right people. It was 11 o'clock and the girls were asleep. The lights in the cabin were dimmed and the atmosphere was calm and relaxing. It was then that I dialed the home number to speak to Zoe Jonathan. Where are you, honey? Zoe, listen carefully and don't interrupt because I might lose connection at this altitude. I already know you've read my letter and you know the girl are with me. They will call you in the morning. I will call you in the next few days to talk things over. Call my mom and dad if you need anything. In the meantime, good night. I disconnected before she could answer. The flight went smoothly and we landed at 1 o'clock in the morning. I carried the girls to the waiting limo and then went up to my house a while later. I tucked them into bed, kissed them, and went to bed 10 minutes later without even unpacking. We'll have plenty of time for that tomorrow. Zoe is coming home. I can't wait. Wait to see my wonderful husband. I crave his touch. These 2 weeks without him have dragged by so slowly. Tonight I'm going to be his perfect wife and turn his world upside down. My favorite part of his business trips is always his first night back home. His sex drive and love for me is amazing. As I entered the house, I noticed the lights were off. I bet he was tired from his long trip. Honey, I'm home, maybe Hun in bed. I'll check he's not there and his phone isn't answering and no missed calls or text messages. That's weird. Let me check the patio. Maybe he's resting outside on my way to the patio. I noticed an envelope on the table and suddenly I had a bad feeling. It was addressed to me right next to the one I had left for him earlier. I slowly picked it up and then nervously opened the envelope. I wasn't sure what to expect. But before I had a chance to read his letter, my cell phone rang. It sounded loud in the silence. One glance at the screen showed it was Jonathan, and I quickly answered his call. I barely had time to say hello before Jonathan told me to listen and not to interrupt. He used what I called his work voice, commanding and impersonal. I listened, and with each word I heard more and more pain in his voice. I wanted to interrupt him and tell him I loved him, but I decided to wait until he was done. I regretted that decision because he hung up. I knew it wasn't good. Things were definitely not going the way I expected for a moment or two. I felt like I was frozen in time. I just stood there with the phone in one hand and the letter he was referring to in the other. Then suddenly my heart beat faster again and I flinched. Dropping the phone, it fell to the tile floor with a clatter, but I ignored it and turned my attention to the letter my hands were shaking, and I could barely make out Jonathan's words through the tears that streamed down my face. Dear Zoe, thank you for your letter and your honesty. Yes, our 16 years together were the happiest years of my life. You gave me two special girls that I love with all my heart. The love we shared was special, and I am not surprised to hear that our friends are jealous of our love and closeness because you have always been the most important thing in my life. I was going to surprise you tonight and tell you how I made some changes at work that will give me much more time to be with you and the girls. But I was the one who got the big surprise of coming to an empty house. All I thought about on my travel day was hugs and kisses from my girls and romantic kisses from my amazing, sexy wife. But for the first time in all the years I had been traveling, I came back to an empty house. It's been a long, grueling trip, and I just wanted to come home and relax with you tonight. But sadly, here I sit here alone in my big empty house, a broken man. I was disappointed and saddened until I saw the envelope addressed to me on the table. I was hoping that the letter would contain some surprise from you and the girls, and that you would all be coming home soon, but the letter was not what I expected at all. Yes, I loved you with all my heart, and as you wrote in your letter, I was madly in love with you and wanted to spend the rest of my life with you and our daughters, and perhaps in the future with our grandchildren. I realized from your letter that you may have overestimated my understanding and forgiveness as soon as I read your confession about your 6-month affair. You ended our marriage, in fact, the moment you showed any intimacy with your lover, and us as a married couple, or should I say, I just didn't realize it until I read your letter. Tears begin to pour from her eyes as she has just realized that she may have ended their marriage. No, God, please, no, this can't be happening. Jonathan must have realized. Now Zoe was on her knees and sobbing, covering her face with her hands, realizing for the first time that she may have made a big mistake. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but I won't understand or accept your need for another man. I am happy that you have found someone to fulfill your sexual needs and your special bond, but because of your infidelity, you have given up your right to be my wife and the mother of my children. The girls are with me, and for the next week we are heading to my office in San Francisco. I need time away from you and our home to comprehend your confession and your actions. You can call the girls tomorrow afternoon, as we won't land until 1 a.m., and they will be tired from our trip. I need to be with my girls right now, because they are the only thing keeping me sane. As you know, they are in good hands, so you won't have to worry now. You'll have plenty of free time to be with your loved one. While I figure things out, we have no reason to talk, so please don't call or text, as I won't be returning your calls. Please call the girls and FaceTime as often as you like. I won't stop you from seeing them, and I won't let them know that their mom traded their daddy for another man. I'll let you do that when the time comes. He has to take my call. He loves me. I have to make him realize that I only want him. I will tell him it's over. I know he will forgive me. Why isn't he answering the phone, damn it? Jonathan, please talk to me. He needs to talk to me before he does something stupid. I know him, and I need to talk to him quickly and explain things better. Your affair has hurt me beyond comprehension, and I am baffled that you could think that I would accept that and let you have an affair and break your wedding vows. You shattered my whole world with that one letter, and it will take me a long time to get over the love I lost. I went from the happiest man in the world who had a plan to bring us all even closer to a broken, defeated man. In a matter of minutes, the woman I loved turned me into an unwilling cuckold, humiliated me in ways I couldn't imagine in my wildest nightmares, and expected me to take her home. It makes me sad and just makes me want to cry. But you know me, and I won't dwell on the past. I'll let you know when we get back. Jonathan, Zoe, with tears pouring uncontrollably. I sat there completely shocked and devastated. Oh God, no, he can't do this. He can't leave me. This is all wrong, and this isn't how he's supposed to react. He's always told me he loves me and wants me to be happy. How can he be so upset? I need to explain it better. Obviously, he didn't understand what I wrote and took it the wrong way. I should call Jamie. Heck, know what to do. Hey, Jamie, it's me. He left me and took the girls. What am I supposed to do? He should have talked to me and realized that our relationship meant nothing more than sex. He said he's leaving me, and I don't know what to do. I said, crying into the phone, "Zoe, stop crying. He's upset, but he'll come around in a few days. It doesn't mean you're leaving him or dating me. It's just a few hours of sex we share when he's at work. He won't want to leave you because of that. He will also think about the cost of breaking up with you, and that will help him realize that he needs to accept a new normal. Have you told him how much you love him?" "Yes, of course I did. I explained everything in the letter, and I meant every word. He is the most important thing in my life, and I would die without him. How could he be so selfish and not understand I needed him to be happy for me? What can I do here? I'm in so much pain. Just get some sleep and try to call him tomorrow after he's had some time to digest what happened and how things will go from here. I'll be home by noon tomorrow. Why don't you come over and then we can talk about it? Get some sleep." Zoe, I hardly slept at all that night, and when I finally gave up trying the next morning, shortly after noon, I immediately dialed Jonathan's number. But it rang once and then disconnected. That meant he had blocked my number. Now there was no way for me to reach him. I would call the girls and they would pass the phone to their dad. Cassie answered the phone and was happy to hear from me, which lifted my spirits. "Hi, Mommy. Hi, honey. Is your daddy here? I need to talk to him." "Mommy, Daddy said he doesn't want to talk to you and won't pick up the phone if you call. What's going on?" "Mom, Dad seems really upset and different. It's not a big deal. Moms and dads fight sometimes. Your dad misunderstood some of the things I did, got angry and left. I need to explain that so he won't get angry again. I'll have him talk to you again." "Mom, wait. I heard her talking to him, and I didn't like his answer, Mom. He said he would call you when he was ready to talk. Are you going to be okay?" "Mom." "Yeah, don't worry, baby. Your daddy and I are going to be fine. Just be good and call me, okay? Give your daddy a kiss for me and put your sister on the phone." Jonathan, 13-year-old Jennifer, and 15-year-old Cassie looked at me after the call with curiosity. Cassie, as the oldest, had a sad look in her eyes. "Was Mommy cheating on you, Daddy?" My heart broke when I heard her question, holding back to tears. I just shook my head and told them to get dressed for dinner. It was the hardest thing I had ever had to do, but I knew that with love and support, they would make it through the challenges ahead. Earlier that morning, before the girls got up, I called my family lawyer, who was on the East Coast and already sitting at his desk. I've known George for 20 years, and we've been through a lot together. So I told him without preamble the story and what I wanted to happen. "George, I need to know what the divorce will look like and how bad it will be. I want custody of the kids no matter what it takes. There is no reconciliation, counseling, or forgiveness. I want this over as quickly as possible." For a long moment, there was silence on the other end of the wire. I understood and gave him a chance to digest the news. He was probably as surprised by my words as I was when I read Zoe's letter. "Jonathan, I'm so sorry this happened. Kate and I always thought you two were the perfect couple, and I can't understand how she could do this, but I understand what you're asking. Do you remember when you and Roger started the company and he demanded that there be a prenup before agreeing to go into business with you? Do you remember how adamant he was about what happened to his last business and how his wife cheated him? Well, your prenup is drafted and up to date. And if she really is having an affair, she gives up her rights to the children and any financial gain from the marriage over the years while your company was growing. I maintained a premarital relationship, worked with your corporate attorneys, and put most of your assets in trust. And you were the benefactor. The house, cars, bank accounts, and investments all fall under this trust that you can't touch. This means that if she violated the prenup, she walks out of the marriage with what she entered into it with and loses any rights to the children. I know we didn't put this together for that purpose, but it looks like it's going to turn out in your favor, George. You're right, I never in a million years would have thought she'd cheat on me, and I completely forgot about the prenup. But George, all I have is a letter confessing to her cheating. What else do we need? Well, her confession on video or tape would help, along with some pictures or a confession from her lover, George. Can you take care of this while I'm here in California with the girls? The money doesn't matter, and I want the proof as soon as possible. I don't want this to drag on. There's a name. Girls mentioned a guy named Jamie. The only Jamie I know is the tennis instructor at our country club. Can you make an arrangement with a private investigator and suggest he start there? I'm sure she'll contact her lover while I'm gone. Pie report, of course. Jamie, the tennis instructor, was my nemesis. They were careless, which made it easy for the private firm to complete the investigation with my permission. They installed a tracker on Zoe's car audio recording devices inside the car and video cameras in our home. All of the evidence from these devices was legitimate due to the fact that my company controlled them through a trust. Within the next week, they had enough audio and video recordings and her written confession to move the case forward. I never watched or listened to any of the testimony, as I didn't want those images to haunt me for the rest of my life. Of course, Jimmy turned out to be a womanizer and had to leave his last 2 jobs because of sleeping with other married women. He was much younger, in great shape, and all the ladies at the club were in love with him. Zoe was just one of the many wives he had an affair with at the club. Apparently, middle-aged married women are an easy target for this club pro. George called me 5 days after our first conversation to update me on the progress of the investigation. "Jonathan, we have all the evidence we need. What do you want us to do? Are you still going to divorce Zoe without hesitation?" I replied, "File the divorce papers with the most care. I want Zoe to feel some of the pain she's caused me and realize how badly she screwed up. I'd like them filed on Tuesday at 10 a.m. at our country club. She has a tennis lesson with Jamie every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Can we think of something for him too? I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's nothing more than an embarrassing lawsuit. Make something up, because I want his name on the suit. We can set that up, and I'll work from a professional tennis perspective and get back to you. We might be able to get the club involved in hiring a known predator. It probably won't go anywhere, but everyone will know about the affair, which I assume is what you want. When are you coming back? I plan to be home and waiting for her after she's notified on Tuesday. I'll make sure I'm home before she gets home. Are you sure you're going to divorce her, Jonathan, as we speak?" "Definitely. However, I have to think about the girls and talk to her before I sign the papers. It's hard, George, and I hope... You never have to go through anything like this. I loved this woman with all my heart, and I just can't stop that love. I also hate what she did to me and the girls, and I can never forgive that. Whatever you decide, I'm here to help Jonathan stay in touch. And we'll let you know as soon as she's notified." We arrived home Tuesday morning around 9 a.m., and the girls were happy to be home. I told them that after their mom got back from her tennis lesson, I wanted them to stay in their rooms while their mom and I sorted things out. I could tell they were upset and worried, and I tried my best to let them know that everything would work out. Tuesday, Zoe. It was a warm summer day, and the tennis dress I wore was short and sexy. It showed off my taut legs, and Jamie smiled as he saw his sexy concubine walk into his office after we exchanged a warm hug, and were about to start. Class A girl in short cropped jeans and a cropped shirt came bouncing onto the set. "Hi, can we help you with something?" Jimmy asked, smiling at the cute girl. Yes, are you Jamie Connors? I am. Who are you?" "Well, I'm your worst nightmare tonight. You've been notified," she said, holding out an envelope to him. He opened it when I went over to see what it was. He looked at it and said, "I'm listed in a lawsuit against the club for sexual harassment." "What the who did that?" The young girl was still standing next to Jamie when she asked me. "Excuse me, miss, are you Zoe King?" "Yes," I replied in surprise. This is for you. You've been notified." When I saw the divorce decree, I fell to my knees and cried, "This can't be. He's divorcing me. He didn't even give me a chance to explain. How can he do this to me after all these years? My God, he knows how much I love him. So why would he do this?" As I knelt on the hard clay court sobbing, I could feel the curious stares of the other contestants on me. It's awful. I can only imagine what they are thinking. How could it have all gone so wrong? I could tell Jamie was angry as he paced back and forth across the court, staring into the legal documents as he looked at me and said, "Zoe, you need to go home, and I need to go to the club to see if they've been notified as well. I need to sort it all out, and you need to go home and get in touch with your husband. See if you can stop him from ruining our lives. Please go." Wiping the tears from my cheeks, I got up and ran to my car and tried to get my emotions under control. But once I was inside and away from prying eyes, the tears came back and I sobbed uncontrollably. I drove back to the house scared and upset. When I got there, the girls ran out to greet me, which made me forget my troubles for a moment. "Where's your dad?" "Heck, inside." I ran into the house, and the second I saw him, I tried to throw myself into his arms. All I wanted to do was hug him and tell him how much I loved him, but he wanted nothing to do with me. He held out his arm, preventing me from getting any closer. His rejection gutted me, and for the second time in the last hour, I fell to my knees as the tears returned. "Honey, please don't do this." You know how much I love you and I need you. I've missed you so much. Please don't push me away. Zoe, I see you have divorce papers. We're not a couple anymore and we'll be divorced soon. You should have realized it was over the moment you shared yourself with Jamie Zoe. I'm not sharing myself with anyone. This is all up to you, so please be an adult and take responsibility for your actions. If you've read the divorce agreement, you already know that you will need to move out and find a place to live. The girls will stay with me, and you will have unlimited visitation rights unless you piss me off. The moment I read your letter and found out how treacherous you were, I took drastic action because you violated the prenup you signed before we were married. You gave up your rights to the children and any financial support. Jonathan, you did all this without even giving me a chance to explain myself, and that's not fair. Obviously, I didn't explain it correctly, lie in the letter, and I'm very sorry about that, but give me a chance. Please, okay, go ahead. Please explain it so I can understand what you did. Honey, in the letter, I wanted you to know how much I love you and would never leave you. You and the girls mean more to me than anything else in the world, and I would never do anything to hurt either of you. I wanted you to know that I am willing to die for you, and I want to be with you for the rest of my life. Your love for me is amazing, and I appreciate you more than you will ever know, so you can't just kick me out and divorce me. You have to realize that it was just something physical that I needed. You've always given me everything I wanted or needed. Why should this time be any different? Well, I do understand that you believe you love me and want us to stay together. You say you would never do anything to hurt me, and yet you brought another man into our marriage. How could that do anything but hurt me? There is no room for a third party in my married life. I have zero tolerance for infidelity, and that's what you did. You became an unfaithful wife, committed adultery towards me, and our marriage broke our wedding vows, our marriage contract, and humiliated me and your children, and for that I will never forgive you. You chose to have sex with a man outside of our marriage, and for that you will face the consequences. There are always consequences to our choices, and I think you made a bad choice this time. Why don't you sign up for me? I don't love him. You're the man I love. Can't you understand that? Why are you acting like this? I yelled at him in frustration. His expression didn't change, so I repeated to myself, I love you, not him. What the hell is wrong with you, Zoe? You've made me an unwilling cuckold and humiliated me. That's not love, that's contempt. You gave up your marriage and children for a man who is a known womanizer and who is currently sleeping with Barbara Weiss, Chloe Thomas, and 2 other women at the club. You stupid, did you really think you were his only girlfriend? Also, have you thought about your future? After he breaks up with you in a few months, everyone will know you're a cheating, and the only men who want you will be looking for sex, and at your age, you're no longer fit for marriage. I see a long, lonely future for you, Zoe. You really haven't thought this through someday. Maybe you'll realize what you've done and what kind of life you've chosen. Now you need to leave. I'll have my driver take you wherever you want to go, but you are no longer welcome in my home. You want me to just leave. This is my home too. I want to stay here, honey. I'm going to stop seeing him. It was a mistake. We can just forget about it and get back to normal if you just give me a chance, but don't kick me out. Well, it's not your house. The house is in a trust and you're not part of it. The car is also part of the trust and it stays here too. You have $3,000 in your current account. That's what you had when we got married and nothing else. And no, we can't go back to what we had until you figure out a way to stop screwing yourself. I will never touch you again. After you defiled yourself with that part of the divorce agreement requires you to give back your maiden name and no longer use mine. You'll have unlimited access to the girls, but they'll live here with me. You gave up everything the moment you started your boy toy. How's that working out for you now? Zoe, was that special chemistry and sexual satisfaction worth losing everything over it? I hope the realization of what you lost keeps you up every night and that you feel the pain you caused me and it stays with you for years to come. Yes, I loved you more than life itself, but I will not live with a cheating wife. You can spin your story any way you want, but the bottom line is that you had a lover outside of our marriage. And that was the end of our 16 wonderful years. Zoe, still lying on the floor, was devastated. Her world was crumbling to pieces around her. And up until this point, she had always gotten everything she wanted and never expected Jonathan to react the way he did. She really thought he would understand and support her in this brief relationship if it made her happy. Zoe realized that she had completely misunderstood her husband, followed the terrible advice of that predator Jamie, lost her family, and ruined her wonderful marriage of 16 years. Jonathan looked at Zoe, holding back tears over the loss of his happy life and the love he carried in his heart. His love was replaced by loss and sadness because of her selfishness and actions. He knew that the pain and sadness that overwhelmed him would last for a long time. But he also knew that there was no turning back from her infidelity and contempt consequences. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized, since Zoe was still the mother of my 2 girls. I paid for the first 3 months for a small, furnished 2-bedroom apartment that was close to our home and clubhouse. I also bought a 3-year-old Toyota Camry for her so she could drive. I knew I didn't have to give her anything, but I needed my kids to be able to see their mom whenever they wanted. Yes, the Lamborghini and the lavish lifestyle were now a thing of the past. She left everything for some loser tennis player she'd never see again, being the nice guy. I am. I even got her a job at the country club. Yeah, the country club was happy to help once I withdrew my lawsuit. They agreed to get rid of Jamie and help Zoe with employment. If I dropped the lawsuit, Zoe is no longer a member of the country club, but is now one of the waitresses at the club, which helps her pay the bills since she had no experience or training for any other job. Her only option was to get a job as a waitress at the club. I'm sure she felt humiliated as she went from being one of the famous members of the club to one of their waitresses. There were no more expensive shopping trips or weekend getaways with the girls. All the money she made at the club had to go to pay rent insurance and food. She had never had to worry about bills or budgets in her entire life. But suddenly she was on her own. The realization of what she had done and what she had given up came down on her like a ton of bricks. I didn't need her to admit it. I saw it on her face every time I saw her, of course. Jamie had dumped Zoe as soon as the lawsuit started in an attempt to keep his job. So now she had no one to come home to. The girls told me that their mom cried every night because of the love and lifestyle she had given up to fulfill some selfish need. It took all of this for her to realize what she had done and how stupid she was to think her husband would accept her selfish desires. I was sad at how things turned out and told the girls that I still loved their mom and that they should love and forgive her. They remained close and saw their mom on weekends. Later that year, when she was picking up the girls, we had our first friendly conversation. She told me that she had finally realized what she had done and begged me to forgive her for her actions. Jonathan, I know we won't be together anymore and you will never be able to trust me again, but I wanted to apologize and beg you to forgive me. I realize now what I did and how much I hurt you. My life was very different, and I was a spoiled woman who didn't care about the world back then. I felt entitled and justified in my actions, and didn't even think about how you would react now. I know what I did and what I put you through, and I'm so sorry. If there was a way to take it all back, I would do it in a second. Losing you was the worst thing that ever happened to me, and I miss you, and your love so much it hurts. I've grown up over the past year, and when I look back, I can't believe I was so stupid and gave up everything because of my selfish, righteous attitude. I'm so sorry I messed up, and I beg you to find the strength to forgive me. I will always love you, Jonathan, and I want you to know that you were the perfect husband. Her confession was sincere, and I knew that in time I could probably forgive her. I would never stop loving her. She was my life, and I had loved her for so many years, the kind of love you can't just turn off. Zoe was still a beautiful woman, and I was sure it wouldn't be long before someone would take her home and she would start a new life. I hoped that she had learned her lesson and would remain faithful when that happened. They fired Jimmy from the club, and he ended up moving to South Carolina, where a small club on Hilton Head got him a job as an assistant to a professional tennis player. It only took him a month before he went back to his old tricks and started courting married women. However, boys in South Carolina are a little less forgiving than in the big city. When he was caught with the wife of one of the good guys, things didn't end well. A month later, the local paper reported an alligator attack on a golf course over the weekend, and photos showed a hand in the mouth of one of the 17T gators. Poor Jamie must have gone for a run to the lake and was accidentally caught by one of those alligators. Jamie finally stopped being a predator and turned into prey during one of my lonely nights as I was reflecting on our happy family times. I read a passage that got me thinking a man's biggest mistake is giving another man the opportunity to make his woman smile. I will never make that mistake again.